Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the AT3 Center's webinar to introduce you all to Recite Me. This is April 22nd. It's 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to get started. Our presenters today are Matt Cox, Recite Me USA Country Manager, and Mike Foulard, Recite Me Business Development Executive. Today, you're going to learn about the who, what, why of Recite Me, for whom Recite Me was created, and how the Recite Me toolbar is used. Just a few reminders before we get started. If you want to see the closed captions, please click on the CC button on the control panel at the bottom of your screen. Please enter any questions or comments that you might have in the chat window. Questions and comments will be addressed at the conclusion of the panel discussion. Upcoming events, please, as always, check in at the at3center.net events page, and additional registration links for upcoming events will also be sent out through the AT3 listserv. And as always, we would like you to please complete the post-webinar survey when you receive them. We especially want to know about your hot topics and things that you are interested in for the future. Thank you. I'm going to now stop sharing my screen and invite Mike to begin the presentation of Recite Me.
Hey everybody, hopefully you can all see the Recite Me logo on your screen there. Dave, can you just give us a thumbs up if that's working okay, please? Perfect, excellent. Well, we're really pleased to be here today and share a little bit more about Recite Me and who we are and what we do. Just to kind of fully introduce ourselves, I'm Matt Cox, I'm the country manager for Recite Me. I've been with the business about 2 years or so now, and probably as I've been speaking for nearly a minute, you may detect a little bit of an accent. I'm originally from the UK, but for the last 9 years, Northern Virginia has been home. So head office for the USA operation is in Reston, Virginia, and we're right next to Washington Dulles Airport, if anybody knows the area.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Foulard. I'm the Business Development Executive, and I'm on part of the sales organization. I just want to thank Dave and Marty and the entire ATAP organization for providing us this opportunity to present, and everyone on the call as well. Thank you. So how did this come about? Initially, it started with Matt and I presenting to the Illinois chapter. They loved the solution, thought it was useful to have a broader discussion with the national team. So they actually introduced us to Marty and Dave, at which point we presented to them. They liked the solution as well and thought that it warranted a broader discussion with everyone on the phone today. So that's how it came about. We're going to try and stay within a half hour or 40 minutes, short and sweet, and kind of get through our information. So we're excited, ready to go.
Perfect. So what we wanted to kind of kick off with is to give you a little bit of a background. I'm sure you're wondering like who we are and what we're about. Maybe some of you have used our accessibility toolbar on the call, but we'll give you a little bit of a background, and then Mike will show you a live product demo so you can actually see things coming together. And then of course, at the end of our presentation, we've left some time for you to ask any questions, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. So really, Recite Me's mission is we believe in accessibility for all. We're in 2021, and our belief is that there's no excuse really for websites and online content not to be accessible and have assistive tech in real time to help your users access that content. It's very present these days in the physical world, but the online world still has a little bit of a ways to go to catch up. We've actually been around as a business for about 11 years or so now. We were founded by a chap called Ross Linnett. And Ross is dyslexic, but Ross wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until relatively late in his life. He was actually at college when he got his dyslexia diagnosis. He was studying a computing degree. And when he was doing the practical elements of his course, he found that he was scoring near the top of his class, and his peers were kind of coming to him to ask for help and assistance. But then when it came to written exam time for Ross, he was actually scoring about 20% down on his peers, and things weren't adding up. So he went and sought out a college counsellor and ended up getting tested for dyslexia. And then what Ross found was that there was help and assistance available for him, but it was quite restricted. He was maybe given a laptop, but then different pieces of software could be loaded onto that laptop to help him with his day-to-day work. But if he went to the library, for example, or he was trying to access content on a mobile device, those tools weren't available to him. So he wanted to bring that together and provide a way for all of the tools to live on a website and essentially be accessible to anybody from anywhere. So we remove the onus from the individual to have their own software with them all the time, and we provide the tools and help organizations provide the tools for their web users to have some assistance to access their online content. We're a global team. We're relatively lean, but we fight hard, essentially. We're just over 30 team members. We've got a couple of offices worldwide, but the big number here for us is on the right. We're actually supporting over 3,000 different websites globally. And we work with a variety of different organizations. So we work with disability-focused organizations. We're working with organizations in education. We're working with e-commerce. We work with airports. Pretty much anywhere where there's a diverse web user base, that's where we can come in and help. And it's not just for those with disabilities as well. We also have translation and language tools. So yeah, for those that don't have English as a first language, then we can also help and provide assistance there too. So we kind of break things down into three areas. We see accessibility as the right thing to do, the smart thing to do, and really the thing you must do, as I mentioned in 2021. From the perspective of the right thing to do, if you look at the numbers, it's 61 million adults in the United States live with some form of disability. And many of those disabilities can prevent online access. And obviously when we do the statistics, it's roughly 20% of the population. So that's a huge proportion of people that could have challenges to access online content. We also see it as the smart thing to do. So depending on the type of organization that we're working with, we know that there's huge spending power for that 20% of the population. And actually the total disposable income for US working age persons with disabilities is around 490 billion. It's an enormous number. And not only from a financial perspective is it the smart thing to do, also from a perspective of providing a disability confident environment for your users, it's the smart thing to do. And more so, it's the thing that you must do. We should be inclusive online. The physical world is getting there and it is pretty inclusive. Online has a ways to catch up, as I mentioned, but really there's no excuses for not providing those tools in 2021.
So as far as who needs support online, there's 61 million adults in the US that live with some form of disability, right? There's a lot of people. I mean, that's almost 20% of the population that needs some sort of help. 22% of US residents don't speak English as their first language. Well, what does that mean? It means that you need translation services for everyone that speaks a variety of different languages. In some parts of the country, this number could be a lot higher if you're looking at California, Texas, etc. And lastly, 49.2 million US residents are age 65 and older. So folks like me that have glasses on that may not be able to see a website because of the size of the text, the style of text, etc. As I go through the toolbar, I'll share some of those tools and how we could help the aging population as well. All right, so now let me go ahead and share my desktop with you. And again, if someone give me a thumbs up if we can see it. Perfect. Thank you, Matt. So here, these are some examples I wanted to share with you. This is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. If we look on the far right, this is where the Recite Me toolbar lies. And as you can see, it refreshes in multiple languages. The reason for that is their stakeholder base is broad, speaks a lot of different languages. So they want to make sure that they cover all bases. NAMI is another one of our partner organizations. They've chosen to have it under here as accessibility. So in each instance, if I just hover my cursor over that, click on it, it opens up the Recite Me toolbar, just like that. A couple of other examples from a marketing and branding perspective. The National Disability Rights Network. On the far left, they decided to call it accessibility options. So this is entirely up to you on how you want to phrase the term, if you want to have a launch button or have it across the top. Now, some folks may be going to Disney over the summer when they open up, right? You want to go to Orlando, this is one of our customers. So Orlando Airports uses our toolbar as well, and they've decided to call it accessible site. So if you're on a mobile device, if you're on a desktop, laptop, it makes no difference. You can open up the toolbar, simply click on accessible site, and out comes our toolbar. It's that easy. Now, let's take a look at what our toolbar looks like on the ATAP site. Can everyone see this? Perfect. So here, as I launch the toolbar, you'll see it's just like, it sits on top of the site, right? It's just like the glasses that I have on my face. It doesn't go anywhere. It's sitting right on top. And this really is kind of a prescription lens. I'm going to go through, I'm going to walk you through all these different icons. And as we go through it, you're going to customize it to your specific needs, just like a pair of lenses on your glasses. Now, the toolbar does several different things. One is it reads any logos.
Image, ATAP logo.
So it reads images there. It also reads any text as well. So here I'll give you an example of that. I simply hover my cursor over it, press play.
The Association of Assistive Technology Act Programs, ATAP, is an...
It reads text. The last thing it does is, from a reading perspective, it reads any links as well.
Link, device demonstration.
So it reads all three pieces on a website, the links, the text, and the images. Now, if you said, Mike, I think I heard a female voice. I want to change it to a male voice. Certainly you can do that. If you want to increase the reading speed, you can certainly do that as well. Or conversely, if you want to decrease the reading speed, you can do that as well. Okay. Now, if you're on the site and you say, Mike, you know, I am 65 and older, I can't see the text here. I've got to come right up to the screen in order to see it. Well, we've got this plus sign here, and if you put your cursor over it, it says increase font size. So I simply click on that button and it increases the font size. Not just for that paragraph, but for the entire page has now been transformed. And if I want to decrease it, I would simply click the minus sign. However, if I say this style of text doesn't work for me, we've provided you with a host of a variety of different styles of font based on the broadest array of disabilities, based on intellectual and developmental disabilities. So as Matt said before, our CEO is dyslexic. And if I was, I would select the Open Dyslexic font, which is weighted down to the foot, right? Now, if I wanted to increase the size, certainly I can do that. And I can customize it further. I can change the line height. I can change the character spacing so that now I can actually read all of this content as I'm going through. This is much more legible for me now. Now, if, for example, let's revert back.
Image.
If, for example,
this is alt information. Third
I'm
image.
going through and I'm saying, you know what, there's some folks that have color blindness issues, which is experienced by 10% of the US population. And so I would like to change the background to a darker color, or perhaps a lighter color, right? The yellow and black, similar to kind of the road hazard signs that we're used to seeing along the highway. Now, your entire page has been transformed. And if you said, well, you know, those colors are fine, Mike, but I want to customize it further to some other colors, certainly you can select from a color wheel whatever color you want. Now, if you're saying, well, that's background's kind of dark, but the text, Mike, you know, that doesn't, I can't read that. Well, you can change the color of the text as well, along with any links. Now, if you are dyslexic and you say, Mike, you know what, I'm looking at all of this text and it's really hard for me to read text when it's bunched up together. I can simply click on this handy ruler and I can scroll through line by line. Also, if I have ADHD or I'm autistic, right, we have the ability to mask everything else out so that you're solely focusing on a specific area of content. And it will certainly read any content as well if necessary. Let me just refresh everything here.
The Association of Assistive Technology Act Programs, ATAP, is a national, member-based nonprofit
And as you can
organization
tell,
comprised
it's
of
on
state Assistive
autoplay.
Technology Act
So I'll
programs
just
funded
turn
under
that.
the Assistive Technology.
It's on autoplay, so I apologize for that. A couple of other things. So Dave had mentioned about language translation, and I had shared with you before on one of the slides how 22% of the US population is non-English speaking. You now have the ability as a user on this site to select from over 100 different languages to have your website translated. 30 of those languages will translate it and read it out loud. And that's these languages that have a microphone beside it. So as an example, if we scroll down to Spanish and I select Spanish as my language of preference, guess what? Now the entire page has been translated, just like that. And if I want it read out loud, certainly I can do that as well.
La Asociación de Programas de la Ley de Tecnología de Asistencia, ATAP, es un
If I prefer to look at text only and strip out any images, any and all images from your site, I can certainly do that as well. Now, if I'm looking at your site and I'm saying, you know what, I don't have my glasses here. I just kind of hurried up and came to a site and I can't see the text and what it says. We have a magnifying glass as well that you can use to go ahead and read text that way. Additionally, if you're looking at PDFs and any forms as well that you have on your website, we have a PDF reader so that now you can have the system read entire text as well, just like the website. And if I wanted this portion translated, I can simply click on the icon with all the flags. And if I wanted to pick Arabic, I can pick Arabic. And now this entire document has been translated for me in Arabic. So no longer do you have to incur translation fees or have staff personnel do this for you. A user on your site is empowered to do so. We also provide you with a copy of the user guide. What is the user guide? It basically explains all the different icons that I just went over. And that concludes the presentation of the toolbar.
Thank you, Mike. So if I can just take back sharing, we have a couple of other quick slides to kind of run through. So we've talked through using the toolbar. Hopefully at this point you're thinking, okay, that's great, but how do I actually get this live on my website? So the beauty of this is we're not actually changing any of the back end of your website. As Mike said, we're actually becoming that lens that allows the user to configure the content in a way which works for them. And one of the things that's important to mention is the user only has to configure the toolbar once. So the next time they launch the toolbar and come back to the website, we remember their settings. So once they've created their essentially unique prescription, the next time they come back to your website, launch the toolbar, it remembers the settings and it will launch their unique configuration. Now, in terms of implementing this on a website, this is the beauty of it. We've done the hard work behind the scenes, so really you don't have to. For those that have a standard HTML website, it's essentially a piece of cut and paste JavaScript code that we would provide you, and you would just paste that within the body tag of your web pages. The only other thing that you would need to do is create the launch link or the launch button. Now, some folks want importance on accessibility in languages, for example. So maybe they call the link accessibility in languages. Maybe they want to call it accessibility tools. We leave that piece up to you, but we work with you to help you create that button and provide you instructions to do so. Now, if you're using a different CMS, maybe you're using WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, for example. WordPress, we have a plugin for, Wix, Squarespace, so on and so forth. We have specific instruction guides. So that implementation piece is very straightforward. And essentially, that's pretty much the easy part for our customers. We know that it doesn't stop there as well. So once you've installed the toolbar, we don't just kind of wave bye-bye and say, hey, we'll see you at renewal time. We see this as an ongoing journey. So we want to be very transparent about the statistics and the user stats in particular. So we will provide you with monthly reporting. And I appreciate this might be a little bit tricky to see on screens at the moment. So if you would like a sample copy of this after the call, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to share. But to talk you through a couple of the elements that we would share statistics on, we would show you how many pages have been viewed using the toolbar, but we would also then break down how many unique users. So how many unique users have come to your site and launched the toolbar in a monthly period, and then tell you essentially how many per session. Typically that number washes out around 4, which is significant. And for your type of organization, we typically see that a little bit higher than we do in some other organizations. You'll see here that the industry average is about 2.8, whereas for your type of organization, we see that around 4. We then break down some of the styling and feature tools. So typically it's the screen reader that's used most often, but we tell you which languages it's been played back in. We also tell you which languages your site has been translated into. And this is interesting, actually, because Mike and I will often do initial calls and we say, hey, look, which languages are most important to you? And typically it's Spanish, maybe French, German, Italian, some of the Southeast Asian languages. But after we run the data for 3 months or so, we often see a language that appears in the translations that no one expected. And it helps you gain that understanding and that insight into your user base and who's actually visiting your website. We also then give you a breakdown on things like the styling and the reading aids. So where that might be useful is if over time we see that the font on your website is being increased in size on a regular basis, or if indeed the font's just being changed or the colors are being amended, then if you come to refresh and redesign your websites over time or add new content, you can start to build these learnings in and do more of this stuff up front. And then kind of finally on the reporting side of things, we give you insights into where your users are coming from. So Not only do we work on desktop devices, the toolbar will work on mobile devices. We will tell you where the launches have come from, and then we will also break down which web browser specifically users are launching the toolbar on. So we want to give you those additional insights to help you understand your user base and those that are using the Recite Me toolbar. For those of you on the webinar that use Google Analytics, we can also provide you with instructions to hook our code into your Google Analytics, and you can see in real time through your Google dashboard the usage statistics from the Recite Me toolbar. And then it doesn't stop there. Mike has some marketing ideas to kind of run you through too.
Absolutely. So this is a true partnership, right? So as Matt said, it's not just, here's a toolbar and good luck. We're here to support you initially out of the gate and also continued success. So we provide marketing resources for you. So as far as internal awareness, we want to make sure that every one of your employees is aware that you're taking accessibility and inclusion to another level. Externally, we want to showcase the same priority, right? So how are we doing that? We can help you with case studies, press releases, etc., to make sure that everyone's aware that you're making this a priority now. If you have any events throughout the year that you want to showcase, certainly we can help you do that as well. And lastly, client support. We're here to help ensure your success, right? I mean, we want to make sure our number one priority is to make sure that this toolbar is on every single website, period, right? Accessibility is a priority. And so our support teams are working tirelessly to ensure that our customers are successful night and day. So we're here to help you.
So thank you for listening. We hope you've got to this point, and we still see there's 41 participants online, so that's great. It's useful to kind of talk you through and give you an indication on how this is priced. So Mike, back over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. So from a pricing perspective, there's a couple of different variables that we put in the mix to come up with pricing. One is, what's your digital landscape look like, right? So how many domains do you have? How many sites, the complexity of the site, the traffic, the PDFs, all of that. Coupled and equally important is the length of the agreement. Is it a 1 year? Is it a 2 year? Is it a 3 year term? So we look at all of that. Now, that said, we have our contact information at the end of this presentation. If you would like to have a broader discussion, kind of one-on-one, certainly feel free to reach out to us as well. But our number one priority, as I mentioned just before this slide, is to make sure that your site is accessible. So we will make sure that we're as budget friendly as possible. We work with a lot of nonprofits, over 3,000 websites, pages that we're using right now, using have our toolbar on there. So we're here to help.
Yeah, I think just to echo that point, going back to Ross's own need and the fact that we were founded out of Ross's struggles with dyslexia. He's very big on promoting the fact that we're here to help. That's our number one mission. Now, obviously, we are a business. We do need to keep the lights on, but he prioritizing helping people over anything else. So it also makes it a really nice place to work. So we're hopeful that if there's interest, we can find a sensible model that will work for everybody that wants to partner with us. And yeah, thank you for taking the time. We hope that's been useful and you've learned a little bit more and had a chance to formulate any questions. We're happy to help if we can.
So Matt and Mike, we have a few questions in the chat as well as the Q&A. And so I'll feed them to you and you can answer them for us.
Yes, super.
Okay.
The first one is, what happens if a PDF is not accessible?
I'm curious as to what they mean by not accessible, but when we get asked about PDFs, it's usually because somebody's uploaded a PDF as an image Now, if it's an image, then unfortunately our doc reader isn't going to work on a PDF as an image. But if it's coded as a PDF document, then the PDF reader will work and will give you many of those accessibility functions.
Thank you. Another question was, do you have any government clients?
Yes, we do. We work with a couple of county and city websites that are .gov affiliated. So we're working with Dutchess County in New York, Orange County in New York, and then also a couple of our airports are ran through city governments as well. So yes, we do.
Another question that was posted was, how does this product work with the user's assistive technology? For example, screen readers. Does this product block their assistive technology?
No, it's there to kind of complement. And one thing we often get asked, and I had this question on a call as well, is what if somebody's blind? How is Recite Me going to help them? And typically if somebody's blind, for example, I ask the question, are we talking 100% blindness or is it visually impaired? If it's 100% blindness, then that person will be relying on a screen reader such as JAWS day to day. We would expect that they would continue to use JAWS 100% of the time. It's really for those users that, I guess we see it as we can help maybe 95% of people, for example. So those users that aren't required to have their own assistive technology 100% of the time, but also those users that don't have the means to have their own assistive technology. From kind of a physical world example, it's a similar process as we wouldn't expect a wheelchair user to carry around their own ramp. We want websites to provide those facilities for those that it can assist.
Another question is, there are many free browser plugin AT apps that generally do what this product does. So why use it? And if the user has these other plugin apps, will your product conflict with their AT product? Yeah,
so there's lots of free plugins out there. I guess what I will say is there's usually a reason why it's free. And one of the benefits of working with a company such as Recite Me is that this is what we're passionate about. This is what we live and breathe. We're staying ahead of new technologies and new features that can be launched and can be made available to you. One thing that's kind of great about the toolbar, to be honest, is the fact that it lives in the cloud. So once it's installed on your website, if there's any updates or new features or releases that we bring to the table, you don't need to do anything. That's all handled our end. But we're also making sure that we're staying ahead of that progress and making sure that we're providing the best in practice. It's kind of, we often get asked this kind of thing. We say, look, people buy Lexuses. We want to be the enterprise best-in-class solution for as many websites as possible.
I think the other part, Matt, is the organizational support that a customer receives as well.
Yes.
So, we provide marketing resources, customer support, 9 to 5. Some of these free solutions, unfortunately, don't have the support, don't provide the analytics that we do, right? So we have robust analytics that we provide you on a monthly basis. You have an account manager that then sits down with you on a quarterly basis, reviews and aggregates all those monthly reports to make sense of it. So it's a true partnership and a collaboration between the organizations. It's not just here's a tool or here's a widget, here's something that you can use, but we work together with you in ensuring your success. So we're here with you, along the way.
Another question that came up is this tool keyboard accessible?
Yes. So within the user guide, there's a series of keyboard shortcuts. So we can navigate using the keyboard for the toolbar. So yes, is the answer to that.
Another question is that automatic translation services frequently do not produce grammatically correct translations. And this person is wondering what the accuracy rate of your translation service.
Yeah, so we use machine translations, and we actually back into Google Cloud Translate, which is their enterprise version of translation software. So it's kind of the best of the best out there. In terms of the accuracy, there are some statistics that Google share online, but I do know that they've been using what they call a natural machine learning, and they take all of their learnings, and I can get quite geeky about this, but they take all of their learnings from all of the websites that they're present on and all of the translations that happen, and they're building phrases and constantly evolving and constantly improving that service. So accuracy is increasing over time. What I will say is that we have the breadth of user base. So we have over 3,000 different websites. There is confidence in the translations that are provided through our toolbar. Orlando Airport is a perfect example. The reason that they started working with us is they have such a diverse and multicultural passenger footfall that they wanted a solid translation tool. So yeah, it is machine translation, but it's the best of the best that we can provide.
Another question is, does your tool work with all browsers?
Yes, absolutely it does. It's designed to work on all browsers, mobile and desktop.
And Matt, is your next screen your contact information?
It is, yes. Let me scroll through to that. And yeah, thank you to the anonymous attendee who's written the question, can we have the English guy speak more often? You've made my day. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But Mike, I'll let you roll through the contact information there.
That's okay. Yeah. Just click onto the next screen. Then we should be good.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully you see Mike's face again on the screen there.
Not yet.
No?
There we go.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. That was what we call
it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Do I want it or I don't want it?
that was a picnic
My
error.
mug
So
shot up
that was problem in chair, not computer. I paused the slides. So forgive me, everybody.
So there is my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if there's anything that Matt or I can do to assist you moving forward. So, and thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Marty, and the entire ATAP organization for allowing us this opportunity again to present.
Yeah,
it's been wonderful.
We're very grateful. And yeah, for those that want more specific price points for your website, just let Mike know. We're happy to run through things and provide you that information.
Are there any other additional questions? If you have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or into the question and answer. I think I missed one, gentlemen. If an image does not have alternative descriptions, does the product make it accessible?
No. Images, as best practice, need to be coded with that alternative tag. So the screen reader pulls from that alt tag. So yeah, we definitely encourage you when you're using web content, producing your web content, to make sure that you're using alternative text behind your images.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any additional questions in either the Q&A or in the chat box. And so we here at AT3 would like to thank both you, Matt, and Mike for sharing this information with us and our viewers today. And at this time, we will give you the rest of your afternoon back.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.